listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. We have a wonderful guest today, Lisa Barnett, who will help you raise your state of mind because she's going to tell us about the infinite wisdom of the Akashic field. Let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. She's the author of the book, Akasha, Spiritual Experiences of Accessing Our Soul's Plan and Infinite Intelligence, a book in the Common Sentience series. She's the founder of the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom, where she specializes in teaching you to access personal soul wisdom and guidance to transform your life while working directly with your soul's plan and finding out how to receive support from the Akashic record keepers. We're going to ask her about those record keepers so that you know more of that. She's also the best-selling author of Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, and From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. For those of you who become deeply interested in this and want to use the Akashic Records to change or create a life change or get out of patterns, Lisa offers Akashic record readings and quantum healing sessions to clear old soul contracts, heal trauma, release karma, and vows, helping individuals align with their soul's truth. And you can find Lisa at akashicknowing.com, and that's AKSHIC knowing.com. Welcome, Lisa. I'm delighted to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Julia. I'm so pleased to be here with you today.
Okay, can you tell our listeners just a little bit about your book, maybe a paragraph or two, so they know where we're going with our talk?
Absolutely. So let me just do the little what the Akashic records are to get us on that same page. So everyone has an Akashic record. And what it actually is the recording of your soul's journey through all time space continuum. So from the moment you individuated as a soul from source, your soul went on an infinite journey, and everything you do, every place you live, every life you have is energetically recorded in the vibration of the Akasha, which is it translates in Sanskrit to ether or sky, and it is part of source energy. It is part of the quantum field, and so it is actually accessible to us for our own soul growth and learning. So my newest book is called Akasha, and that is really about the records, about a lot about what we plan as a soul, which we'll dive deeper into in this conversation. Before you embody, we make a whole plan because we really are kind of interestingly soul-driven beings of light. And so we want to get a lot done. We want to learn and grow. We want to support other people. And we put all of this into our soul plan. And in this book, Akasha, there are 20 beautiful stories that people had submitted to us about their experience. So it's really fun to see the profound shifts they've experienced from receiving information and being in their own Akashic records, as well as in the book. I share my 5-step wisdom prayer system to literally teach you how to access your own Akashic records.
And that's also exciting. It's very much new age. One of the things I was thinking when you're talking, everything we're doing, like I'm talking right now, you're talking right now, it's all a frequency. And it's like a frequency is being recorded on those old vinyl records. It's an actual recording of all the frequencies that we've ever emitted since we've been here.
Right, and that is the recording, right? So
Yeah.
it is in the Akasha, the field of the Akash, and so it's there for us to access. And really part of the gift that I've been given by the Akashic record keepers is a energetic key in the form of a sacred prayer that allows us to play that recording of who we are, to access that library, if you want to look at it that way, as a big library, access all of those books that have been written, recorded energetically in the Akash about your lifetimes here on Earth and other realms, lives in between, other dimensions, because we're truly infinite and ancient souls.
And we're going to come to that. I was going to say, when you were talking about that, I remember one time dreaming about it, and there was an angel with the giant, or it looked like an angel, a divine being, yes, with a giant book. And I realized I could read like forever, backwards and forward. And then there was this stream of really pure light that came in. And I thought, oh, when you're beyond it, you're in that river of light.
That is, yes, so beautiful. And really it is profound, because you are in that vibration of just pure love and light.
And I thought when I was looking at your book that that's what you were saying, is that when we're past all these misconceptions or the ways that I think we're learning to perceive our lives in a new way. And you talk a lot about that in soul contracts and how you can rewrite the energy. And as we rewrite that energy, we move into that stream of very pure light.
Right, absolutely. And so that is why it's very useful to us, and really very profound when we dive into our own Akashic records, and we can start to understand the big picture of who we are. Because as humans, we often get stuck in the energy of things like shame or blame or guilt, right? Sadness or anger, feeling that great loss or abandonment. And all of those very low vibrational emotions often, put us in that feeling of being a victim of life, of the world, right? Of that box.
Yeah.
And so when we access the Akasha, we're moving out of that box into this huge, expansive, high vibe energy of love and wisdom and guidance from your soul. And it really transforms our lives, because we can understand who we are in so many different levels and layers. Because
it starts to make sense.
Yes, right. Clients often come to me and they say, why would I have picked this this abusive family, or why would I have picked this really dysfunctional family? Why would I do that? And, it's interesting, because we do it for not just one reason, but really many reasons. And part of it is because we truly want to be of service to some of these people who might even be soul family members. And we want to help, maybe see if we can help move them out of the dysfunction, or wake them up to let go of some of their addictive patterns or their abusive patterns, because they can feel the love that we are sharing. So, we often come in and choose these really hard lifetimes because we want to be of service, as well as sometimes we also have karmic patterns that we want to complete. We want to learn and grow from some of those challenging experiences also.
I know my great grandmother and my father, I spent many, I'd say at least 4 or 5 lifetimes with them. And I know part of it is I wanted to see them again.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's a
I
huge
wanted the
one.
familiar feeling.
Right. Um, so I would venture to say that they are part of your original soul family. So let me explain a little bit about that.
That would
And
be wonderful.
yes, so when we originally individuate from source, and as just before we go on that soul journey, we come together as a small group of souls who are brand new souls. So sometimes we say things like we're born in a basket with a little group of other souls. Maybe there's 25 to 50 other souls in our little basket of soul family members. And these souls, these family members, go on journeys. We travel around together. When we come to Earth, often we decide to be in the same human family. So they might be your mother or father or grandmother or brother or sister or child, right? It could be anyone in your family. And we often do that just because we want to be in support, because we love these souls and they get us.
Right.
And so those are what we call support contracts, is how the record keepers refer to them, because we talk about different kinds of soul contracts. And often we write many soul contracts to support each other. So I'm here to support you and you're here to support me. And it's a lot of fun and can be really warm and fuzzy and just full of love.
And we have listeners who probably have the same vibration.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, which is pretty exciting. Now, one thing that I'm well aware of, but I don't think most people are, is that you can teach things like the Akasha. For me, I teach certain aspects of alchemy that I couldn't have taught 15 or 20 years ago. And there's this big change that's going on as far as knowledge. Would you tell our listeners about it?
Absolutely. So it is, it's beautiful to be here at this time in history. And I'm going to say that if you're listening, you're most likely part of this first wave or second wave. The first wave started to come in probably about 80 or so years ago. And that was, as souls, we wanted to be here on Earth. The first waivers were about helping to bring peace to the planet. So many of the people who came in 80 or so years ago, it was about making sure we didn't have World War III and blow ourselves up. So they did a great job. Thank you. Anyone who's listening with that, so they were really coming in the 30s or the 40s. Many of us came in, as I did, in the 50s. And it was about the love and more of the awakening. That was very early in this process, that we're finally getting to a higher alignment to the galactic center, to being able to create a new Earth, to a time where the veils are finally starting to thin, where more of humanity is awakening, right? Where it really is possible to create what we as light workers have been trying to create for the last 80 or so years, as well as hundreds of other lifetimes where we were
Right.
a little bit too early. So,
or misunderstood.
right.
Yeah. But I do think that this is a special time when we're really widening our dimensions.
Yes. Yes. And we absolutely are. And one of these great gifts with the higher vibrational light coming to the planet, it's allowing so many more people, so much more of humanity to start to awaken, because the energy is higher. The Earth herself, our beautiful Gaia herself, is awakening. And so if you imagine, we are riding on a ball of light that is raising. So as she awakens, her vibration is raising, and we cannot but help to raise our vibrations as we go along. And so what I also notice is that for a lot of humans, it's tiring, right? So many of us are more exhausted than ever before. Some of our triggers, our challenges are popping up after we thought we had healed that 10 years ago, right? Because many of these pieces are coming up to truly be cleared for the last time, as we are unwriting, that we are releasing some old patterns that have been, and programs that have been written into this kind of earth dimension matrix, millions of years ago.
I
So,
also think there's like huge polarity. There's oscillation. One day there's a lot of light, or one morning there is. The next day you're like, I feel like I have the flu. What's the matter with me? And then the next morning you wake up and go, must have imagined it. I have so much energy this morning. But when we're in that lower state, it really does pull up the patterns. Anything that's left speaks so loudly, and it's a clearing process. And I agree with you about the earth. I spent a lot of time with wolves, and evidently they remember our history of coming here quite well. Because when I said, have I always been here? They were like, no, we came here in a wave of light from other planets.
right.
Yeah, and you say the same thing. Yeah.
A lot of us came here from other planets. I'm going to say, honestly, everyone has come from another planet. We might not have come in this body. We came in, most of us came in, having lived on Earth for, hundreds of lifetimes now, kind of working through a lot of the old karmic patterns, really working on doing collective healing, bringing more light, right? As light workers, we are here so much to help to awaken humanity, to share this ancient wisdom that we haven't been able to share before. So now we really can start to share things like the Akashic records, which were very much hidden from humanity for 1,000 years. So during the Dark Ages, the Akashic record keepers pulled the vibration of the Akasha away from Earth so that humanity could no longer access the Akashic records.
Right. And that's also when they destroyed all the writings and did the alchemical drawings and symbols. So only if you had some knowing from other lifetimes, or someone took you under their wing, there was no way that you could find out what it said.
Right, exactly. Because people started to misuse it for their own gain. And it was like, oh, you guys are not in a place, that human development is not at a high point, right? It's the Dark Ages.
Right.
So until you kind of, the light comes, and some of it is really, very much about galactic alignment. And so it was really the mystics, so that we're still able to kind of hold that consciousness for humanity. And then it was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s that the record keepers started to, tap on people's shoulders like mine and yours and say, hey, it's time now. It's time to bring this wisdom back to humanity.
I think one thing that you're saying that is so important right now is that you're giving people a method of clearing their karma. And for all of those of you who are out there and saying, I know I'm here for a reason, what should I do? Go ahead and learn how to clear your karma. Underneath that, you'll find what you're supposed to do. But just clearing your karma is enough to help everyone.
It is very useful. And the interesting thing is that, of course, the record keepers, and let me just kind of segue back for 1 second. So yeah. Of course, you have a whole library. You have the Akashic record, which is your own personal library of you. And you also have librarians, who I refer to as the Akashic record keepers. And there's a team of them, and they are only in service to you. So you've got your own big library, your own team of record keepers, of librarians. And it's all about who you've been, the amazing work you've done on this planet. Some of it's about the karmic patterns you've created that you maybe want to work on or complete in this lifetime. Again, really, we talk about that in Akasha, in the book, because I really want to give you so many steps, as well as guided visualizations and tools to help you to clear some of these karmic patterns and to work through some of this. So There's a beautiful forgiveness prayer that the record keepers gave me many years ago and is in the book too. And that really helps to release karma really easily because it brings us into a space of consciousness, compassion, forgiveness, a greater expanse of energy. So not only are we forgiving other people for having hurt or harmed us, but we're forgiving ourselves for having hurt others, as well as forgiving ourselves for having hurt ourselves, because as humans, we know we do a lot of that.
And I think we have to sometimes forgive ourselves for allowing that experience.
Right? Absolutely. So multi-layered. We are not simple beings. We are very complex, ancient souls with so many levels and layers. And again, when you learn to access your Akashic records, which I literally teach you in the new book, Akasha, 5-step wisdom prayer system written out there, right, with the sacred vibrational key that the record keepers have given us. And you can start to access that, use this vibrational key to start to open your records and expand your heart and feel this pure energy of unconditional love. And we start to ask simple questions of our record keepers so they can help us. We can start to understand the who you are, the why you chose this family, this body, this life. What gifts and talents am I bringing here also? So there's so much of this information, and it just helps us move out of our kind of personality, ego mind, into our heart center and the higher truth of who you are as an ancient wise soul with a plan.
I think you're very high vibrational in doing it, and it seems quite different to me than people who just undergo hypnosis and say, I was this, because sometimes I can feel that that's not correct, although I would never say that to the person because I don't want to interfere with their quest. But this is a very different sort of thing that you're doing. It's a much higher level.
Yes, it's so, it is so beautiful because we are really energetically accessing the Akash, and we are inviting our record keepers to encircle us in this pure energy of divine love. And it really, as we do this, we surround ourselves in this column of Akashic light and love, and it raises our vibration. And then it becomes so much easier to clear old emotional pain and trauma from this life and past lives, because we are held in the quantum field of source energy, which is where the Akasha is. It's part of source, right?
It's all the good things are in the Akasha.
Right. So.
All the good things are there.
Yeah.
One thing that I loved reading in your book was your description of the record keepers. They're very kind, gentle, loving beings that want the best for us, not angels, but
Right. So it's always been interesting, of course, as long as I've been, teaching over the last 25 plus years. Of course, my students always say, who you're talking about? Who are the record keepers, right? Are they angels? Are they ascended masters? Who are they? So I love to share that. And because it is important that they are pure source energy themselves. So the way they explain it, and they are funny, kind of, because they're just pure love. So they give us sometimes these kind of humorous stories. And so they say that when we individuate from source, we sometimes go off on a different kind of quest. Many souls, might go off and travel to to a galaxy, to a planet, to a place, to learn to experience that life. And some of us might go into this huge library. So I like to imagine it, as this jumbo library, like you were in New York City, and it's, a whole square block, and you go in this phenomenal library, and there's, billions of books, and you start to study and you start to read and you love it, and you stay. So you're pure source energy. You're a brand new soul. You're learning and you're growing, and you're choosing to stay in this library and learn and actually become an Akashic librarian. So the Akashic record keepers, these beautiful librarians, are pure source energy. They've never been human, which is important. That means they have no opinions, no judgments, no attitudes or triggers, right? They're filter free. They're pure love, and they've really come to be that for you. And so ascended masters, of course, have gone through the whole cycle that we're in the process of going through. They've been human, they've awakened, they've ascended, right? They've had lives and often, beliefs or judgments. When our ancestors come in, of course, I love to connect to our ancestors, but again, they're still very much of the human realm.
They definitely have opinions, I would say.
Definitely have opinions. And so the blessing is that the record keepers have no opinions. They have no judgment. They're purely here in service to you, and they just want to be that for you. So I love it. And again, they want to connect to you. That's their work, right? So they're like, come talk to us. Let us support you. Let us share wisdom with you. Let us help you release old karmic patterns or ancient vows that no longer serve.
And let's circle back to what we were saying in the beginning. When we're living in an oscillation, a time of oscillation, when we go up and down, any positive source that we can find that takes us way up, it's probably something we should embrace. Just my thought on that.
I'm in 100% agreement, of course. And that is why the record keeper said to me so many years ago, they said, this is a path to awakening, because it is a path to really immense understanding of souls, of our journeys, of the way we, kind of work in these multi dimensions. And it's about raising your vibration to access this wisdom and to see the world in a new light. And eventually, with that process, to awaken. And so learning to access your own Akashic records is really a profound process.
And we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about soul contracts, relationships with other people, and how you can get through some of this. Because one, it's fun. Two, it makes so many things in your life make sense. So we are going to go ahead and go to break. We're with Lisa Barnett. We're talking about her new and fascinating book, Akasha, Spiritual Experiences of Accessing Our Soul's Plan and Infinite Intelligence. And she's telling us how we can learn to use it for ourselves. There are details in her book, and we're going to discuss more of them when we come back. We'll be right back. We're back. I'm Julia Griffin at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. We're here with author Lisa Barnett, who's sharing details of her new book on the Akasha. So stay tuned for the next few minutes and learn more as we move into stories, details, soul contracts, and so much more about the Akasha that will move you into a higher vibration. So, Lisa, before we go further, tell people where they can find you, the title of your book, and where they can find your book.
Absolutely. So new book is, I always laugh. I'm like, oh, those backgrounds. It's so hard to show a book, when you
I know.
have a background, but it's called Akasha. It is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And right now I am actually offering 4 free gifts with the purchase of the book on my website. So if you go to Akashic Knowing, which is AKASHIC, Akashic Knowing, KNOWING.com, then you will see that really right on the first page, where you'll see my new book and 4 free gifts. And that way you can get some of my audio meditations, guided visualizations, just 4 lovely Akashic record gifts to take you deeper into the records. And so, check that out there on my website also, because why pass up the 4 free gifts? So
Right. We should take whatever gifts life offers.
Right.
Yeah. So I know there are two things we wanted to make a point of sharing in the next few minutes. One was your 5-step prayer process. The other one was soul contracts. Which do you prefer to start with?
Well, let's start with the soul contracts, because I think it's helpful for people to understand kind of our soul plan, which of course I, talk more about in the book. But what's important for us to understand is that before we embody, we write a whole complex plan. And most of us write literally 50 or more soul contracts with other people. And so sometimes they're soul contracts of support, like we were mentioning with your beautiful family that's supportive. Sometimes they are soul contracts that have karma attached. Now, I always like to say that karma is never about punishment. It is always about our soul's desire to learn and grow. Our soul is on a mission to get wiser so that the soul can share that wisdom in other lives or places or dimensions even. And so we choose challenges because it's really through challenges that we can grow, that we can learn. Of course, if you're having a super easy rest life, well, yay for you. That's very cool. But there's less growth because, things are just flowing. We're in the groove, right? We're in the flow. And so it's lovely. But most
And
of
not everyone in my family was a positive or supportive. Some were challenging. And I think that's probably true for everyone.
Absolutely. So I would say that so many of my clients come to me because they have whole families that are really challenging, and that maybe they have one blessing of a sibling or of a good, best friend that is there in support to them. But we sometimes choose super challenging families again. It's about the growth. And so, as I was mentioning earlier, sometimes we choose to come in support to this person who may be, say, struggling with addiction, right? So maybe they're an alcoholic, or maybe they've gone down a rabbit hole of drug use and they can't pull themselves out. And we as a infinite soul say, oh, I'm going to go be the child of that person and help them and love them and remind them of who they really are. That so they can remember, the love and embrace that instead of the sadness or the disconnect, the abandonment, the pain, all of those emotions. So we do often step in to be support. And I would venture to say that it often does not quite work out the way we were hoping it would as a soul. So maybe that person never wakes up from their addictive patterns, and maybe they die early, and then we feel the loss and sometimes the emotional abandonment and the trauma of that. Maybe now we're left either alone, or we have a single parent and very little income. So that triggers a lot of the different karmic patterns that we want to work on. So we have karmic patterns around things like money, around health or vitality, around love, around, of course, separation and abandonment. So we have big karmic patterns on the planet right now around balancing or helping to rebalance male and female energy, which have been out of balance again for probably the last 5,000 years, right?
Right.
So we write big contracts and I want to come in and help rebalance male, female energy. And that could show up as a really challenging marriage. That maybe I end up marrying a man who is really wants a wife more as a slave than as a partner, right? So we're like, why would I pick that? How did I miss that? But it's about the soul going, let me change this. Let's do some work in the Akashic records. Let's do counseling, therapy. Let's get divorced because you're not changing,
Right. And that's an issue with soul contracts. Is sometimes you fall in love with someone that you have a lot of past lives with, but they don't want to change past a certain point. You have to make decisions from that. And
Exactly.
Having a soul contract with someone romantically does not mean that you're supposed to spend your life with them. This is advice I give all the time. Wait and see if you're compatible.
Yes. Yes. And right. I mean, that's fabulous. Thank you, Julia, for bringing that up, because many of our soul contracts are more temporary, right? Even
Right.
with significant partners. And I kind of tell my story. My first husband, we were only married for about 2 years. And part of what I was learning from him, what that soul contract was about a karmic pattern, about growth. And he did have a drinking problem. We did try all of those things. But what I realized, for me, the huge aha moment was, I can't save you. It's
Mhm.
not my job. And so I can be kind and caring and loving. I can go to counseling and therapy with you. I can try and support you as best I can. But unless you're interested in changing, I can't fix you. We can't fix anyone, right? I can do
And
what
for
I
light
can do.
workers and empaths and intuitives, we keep running across this. We can't fix people.
You can't. And so for me, this is, 30, almost 40 years ago now. For me, it was a great blessing in disguise, of course,
Mhm.
because doing the work that I do, right? Just like you, Julia, it's important for us as light workers to realize we are not here to save humanity. We are not here to fix everyone. We are here in loving, compassionate support as teachers, as, wise ones, to share our gifts, where I can share the Akashic record, 5-step wisdom prayer system, and you have your teachings that you teach. And and it's for us to be able to do it that way without taking it on and taking on the pain and feeling like, we failed because we didn't save that person. So it was a great, great gift. And even the timing as it showed up in my life 40 years ago was a blessing. Of course, in the moment, it was a little
Awful.
dramatic, but, um, luckily I could see it for what it was. I got that huge, clear aha that this was not my path, that I had, shared my gifts. I had done the work, and the soul contract was now complete, and I was free to go.
Yeah. And that's a lesson we're all learning.
Right. And it's important to realize. And so many of my clients come to me because they maybe have been even in a marriage for, 20, 25, 30, 35 years. Sometimes people come to me and they say, is that contract still valuable, viable? Do I still have a contract with my husband? And often it's because they realize that, they're not in alignment. That soul contract was about the marriage, the support, the family, the children, bringing them into the world. And then sometimes that contract's been done for 5 or 10 or
Right.
more years. And we're just, well, it's comfortable or whatever. And that's all fine too. Like the record keepers always say, we're here with free will and choice. And
Yeah.
it is important to say, if you're happy and you want to stay, perfect. It's complete, and you are able to create a new upgraded contract if you're interested. And or sometimes when the other partner maybe isn't interested in going down a spiritual path or doing sacred travel, or whatever it might be, creating a new spiritual business, and say no, it's time for me to go on my path and time for you to go on your path. And in the end, we're both happier for it.
And that's just something that happens. And
Right.
so if anyone is blaming themselves for a relationship not working or someone not growing, they have a right to make a choice too.
Right. And sometimes in hindsight, we realize what a gift it was. And of course, to me, when you start to learn to read the records for yourself, then you can read about my 5-step, and it's right in here, sacred energetic key and all, so that you can really learn to do this. And we start to access the records and say, do I still have a soul contract with this person? Is there still something to learn? Is there still a lesson? Is there karma to finish? Are there, patterns to clear? How can I understand, say, this relationship, this soul contract? How can I understand it more deeply? And what can I heal? What can I know? So we can move on to the next highest and best next step for us.
And I think sometimes too, when you can remember or you have help recalling a past lifetime and you understand what has happened, it starts to all make sense.
Right. Absolutely. So again, because as you and I were briefly sharing, when we start to learn how to go outside of time and space in the Akashic records, because quantum field, no time space. And I like to imagine it, and I talk about it and teach it, kind of like just imagining like a golden railroad track. And as you go, you can hop back to a lifetime, say maybe 400 years ago, where you were killed for being a healer, and you can actually clear and release a lot of that emotional pain and trauma that keeps you afraid of teaching what you've come to teach or sharing your wisdom. So,
I was going to ask you about that. Yay. Tell us how to do that.
Right. So when we go back and we can say, "Ooh, let me clear those past life vows to never share that information again because it got me killed."
Right.
Well, we can clear the pain, the emotional, physical pain of maybe being hung or burned at the stake or something awful, right?
Right.
Then we clear it 400 years ago, and then we shifted the energy in that life, and then we can bring it up that golden railroad track right into this time space, right into your body now, the healed energy that's now free of the trauma, that's free of the vow never to step out there, never to be seen, never to speak about my psychic gifts or my energy, energy healing abilities.
I think that's like the next step in the balance between men and women, is women giving up that fear of expressing themselves and being seen on a psychic spiritual level. Certainly they've done it in business, but that's nothing like the world of the heart.
I agree. It really is important for us to do that, to be able to step into our power. So women have for so long felt like power was a nasty word, right? We see men who are in power and they're using their power to get more power, to get more money, to get more charge control. And so we kind of blame power.
Right.
And the truth is that, what we really should be looking at is that human ego is the challenge. The power, the energy can be used for good or, for the dark. And so it's important for us as women to take back our own power, to stand in our own wisdom, our own light and our gifts, and to be able to energetically expand that out. And that is part of our power, that our power comes from our heart.
Right.
And it's very, very powerful in that sense of expanding love and compassion.
And female earth energy.
Of course, a lot of that. There's a lot of I talk about in Akasha, the Earth Guardians also. There's these lovely stories that I've written too. One is My Life as a Whale.
I saw that.
Right, where I came to the Earth as a whale during the ice ages. And that's when I made my contract with Gaia to be in support to the planet, to Gaia herself as a sentient being. And so many of us actually made our contracts with the Earth, even in other bodies, in other times or dimensions. And so reading those stories is also very fun and kind of,
let's tell them a little of it. Some people were guardians of trees. Some people made flowers grow. Some people could call in fairies. Some people could change the weather. Some people the mountains talked to. And this is a thing that a lot of women did, and we've forgotten. So don't say, let's save the earth. Let's find our abilities with it.
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you. And of course, many of us were fairies, right? In
Right.
other kind of dimensions in that fifth and sixth dimensional worlds. We were the fairies. We were the unicorns. We were the dragons. And so when we came back later as humans, we had those gifts. We could see the fairies. We could really open those portals and those doors to connect again, because we still can do that now. So it is important for all of us to connect into the gifts of who we are. And part of accessing the Akashic records is being able to ask your record keepers too. What else have I been? What aspects of me can I reconnect to? Do I have fairy aspects or mermaid aspects? I've got my mermaid earrings on. I've got a lot of mer energy, many.
I can tell from your colors behind you. I know.
And so we can start to connect to those aspects of us, because we have not just human lives, we have lives in different realms, we have different planets, we are all star seeds. And of course, in the book, I talk about the galactic Akasha and how we are able to access that wisdom with greater ease now than, again, we ever were before. For so long, we couldn't access the records at all, right? As we talked about,
Right.
For the last 1,000 years, they were pulled away from Earth. And then as we start to be able to access them again, the last, 20, 30, 40 years, it was very much about us and about some of our past lives. And now it's opening into not only our human past lives, but our galactic past lives. What other planets or dimensions have you lived in? I'm finding many of my clients who come to me for one-on-one sessions have been angels. We've been angelic humans, but some have been seraphim or Elohim, some of the big angels, as well as the mer and the fairies and all of these other aspects from other worlds, other dimensions. And so that is really all accessible to you when you learn to read your own Akashic records, or of course come to me for a one-on-one session, and that's accessible by having someone help you with that, do that for you, do the healing and the clearing, because it definitely speeds up the process.
That's what I was going to say. It's an easy way for people to get started.
Absolutely. And often, especially if we've had a traumatic life, a lot of emotional pain and trauma, we want to peel a lot of those karmic patterns and emotional pain and trauma to raise our vibration before we even start to try accessing the records. Because again, as we spoke earlier, it is about vibration. And so we want to raise our vibration to make it easier to access our own Akashic records and get clear information and wisdom there. And so, of course, I love to teach people in live online workshops also, because this sort of program is transformational. Reading the book Akasha will get you started with the 5-step wisdom prayer system, and then it's so transformational too. There's meditations and guided visualizations.
We're running out of time, so people are going to have to get her book or go to her website.
Yes.
So thank everyone so much for being here for the Power of Inspiration and Awakening show. It was wonderful having you here with us. Thank you. And you can sign up for my weekly newsletter on my website, onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com, and receive many tips on the energetic weather, what's going on, astrology, energy, and development on the spiritual level. So why don't you tell us your website one more time before we're out of our last 30 seconds?
Okay, so you can read on the screen Akashic Knowing. So it's Akashic Knowing is one word.com, and AKASHICKNOWING. So lots to read about on my website. Get your 4 free gifts along with when you purchase Akasha, my brand new book, to help you access your own Akashic record. So thank you, Julia. It has been a great pleasure.
It was wonderful. Namaste.
Thank Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.